Yo guys, welcome back to another video. So this week we're going to be talking about the upcoming set, Phantom Nightmare. So this is the next core set in Yu-Gi-Oh! And we're getting a lot of really cool cards in this set, some of which are being support for existing archetypes, support for archetypes that have just existed for a hot minute, and just overall just a lot of really cool stuff. Now 90% of the Yu-Gi tubers here on YouTube are talking about, Snake-Eye Poplar and Promethean Princess, and some of them are even talking about Goaty, because, Goaty's cool. I played Goaty. I like the fact that the support's coming out, but today, I'm actually going to be touching on some cards that not a lot of people are talking about, and I think that they could be very much meta-defining in very specific decks, and even maybe make certain decks either keep up or make a comeback. But of course, before we start into it all, if you're not already, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. We are growing very quickly, and if you want to be a part of that amazing train, definitely hit that subscribe button down below, especially if you like competitive Yu-Gi-Oh content, because I'm doing my best to produce more and more as the year goes along. Eventually, I want to get to the point where I'm doing 2 videos a week, but I can't do that with all your guys' amazing support. But other than that, let's just jump right into it. So the first card that I want to talk about, this is a card that is in the talks, but I don't think it's being talked about enough, is Mutamorphosis, or Back Mutation. That I personally think Back Mutation sounded better than Mutamorphosis, but I digress. So for those who don't know what this card does, it's basically Metamorphosis, but backwards. And Metamorphosis is banned for a reason, but tribute 1 fusion or synchro monster, special summon 1 monster from your deck with the same level as the tributed monster's original level, but return it to the hand during the end phase. You can only activate 1 Mutamorphosis per turn. So it has a hard ones per turn, but that's okay. This card's going to be amazing in a specific archetype that's been sticking around for way too long, that can just dump out extra deck monsters like nothing, Runic. This deck is specifically going to be good in Runic Fur Hire, however, it does have other application in some of the other Runic variants. To start, all you have to do is summon a Hugin, and then activate this card and tribute the Hugin for cost, and you can either summon a Sprite Blue or a Rex Fur Hire. But in some other decks like Bestial Runic, all you have to do is summon out Gary, tribute that, and summon out a Quem, Cartesia, Ecclesia, whichever variant you're playing, just very quickly turbo out the one piece that you're missing in your hand. But not even just that, this card can quintessentially search hand traps, because you can just summon Munin and then activate this card to tribute Munin, and then you special summon like Ash Blossom or Ghost Spell from the deck, and then just keep them on the board until end phase, and then they just bounce back to your hand on end phase. Obviously, that's not the most preferred route, because you are using a monster to get this hand trap, so if you don't have other gas in your hand, that's just not the right play to go. But if you're playing against, like, for example, a Branded, and you know you're playing against Branded, you can just search out Ash so you know that they're not resolving Branded Fusion. I think this card will have other application in other decks, however, I just think the most usable application is in Runic, because like I said, Runic just dumps out extra deck monsters like they're nothing. The next card I want to talk about is Materialization. So this is a quick play spell that when you activate it, it targets 1 face-up monster in any of the spell and trap card zones, and then you can activate one of the following effects. You can either special summon it to the owner's field, return it to the hand, or destroy it, and then you can destroy 1 monster on either field with equal or lower level. The reason I think this is a possibly good card, even side deck going forward into the next format, is because we have stuff like Snake-Eye coming into the format officially. Because for those who don't know, Snake-Eye specializes in putting monsters in the spell and trap card zone, primarily Populous or Poplar as he's called in the TCG, puts things in the spell and trap card zone and just kind of pops off from there. However, if your opponent summons out Poplar and has Snake-Eye Ash in the spell and trap card zone, you can just flip this, destroy Ash, and then destroy Poplar. Also, a buddy of mine was even saying this could work against like Centurion. However, I think because the Centurions classify themselves as continuous traps while they're in the spell and trap card zone, I don't think this would actually work against that deck. However, I could be wrong on that ruling. Let me know in the comments below. So the next couple cards that I want to talk about, funny enough, are kind of, in a sense, Fluandereese support, and the first one being Ultimate Offering. So this is basically a spin on Ultimate Offering, which immediately this card is kind of a slow play card, because it's a trap card, and so you play a little slower. It's a little too slow for Fluandereese's liking. However, it is a continuous trap that during the main phase, you can pay 1,000 of your life points and conduct up to 3 normal summons / sets this turn, not just 1. And during your opponent's battle phase, you can even pay another 500 life points, and immediately after the effect resolves, normal summon 1 monster. This is incredibly powerful because aside from map, Fluandereese hadn't really had a whole lot of ways to normal summon on your opponent's turn. So this card could, of course, be utilized to do just that. And if Flouanderees are allowed to normal summon on your turn, you're not going to be having a good time. But while we're still on the topic of Flouanderees, let's talk about the fact that they could quite possibly search Droll and Lockbird now. Droll and Lockbird, of course, being one of the meta-defining staple hand trap cards in the entire format currently, because it will completely bring certain decks to a complete standstill. And the card that allows them to quintessentially search it is Swallow's Cowrie. This is a quick play spell card that allows you to tribute one Winged Beast monster in your hand or face-up field and add one Winged Beast monster from your deck to your hand with the same level of the tributed monster. The reason this is good is because it's basically just another advent for Flouanderees. It's a quick play, so it allows you to dodge Imperm and Effect Veiler. And also, all the Flouanderees are the same level. And the reason that it could quite possibly lead to a search of Droll and Lockbird is this monster right here, Kujaku Jaku. Now, this card is by no means released in Phantom Nightmare, and Flu could have already ran this to begin with, but the spell card just allows them to kind of extend even further. And Kujaku Jaku, when it's tributed on the field and sent to the graveyard, it can add one level 4 lower wind monster from their deck or graveyard to their hand. So not only can they search Droll and Lockbird, but they can even recycle it. Like I said, this is a card that Flu have already been experimenting with in the past, but I do think that the spell card does allow them to utilize it a little bit better. So with these two cards coming out in Phantom Nightmare, I do think it's quite possible that Flu could just kind of be a sleeper deck. Flu has, for at least the past few months since Tearlaments became relevant again and Kashtira has become less relevant, Flu has very quickly started to rise back up into the rogue decks and even tier 2 strategies, getting random toppings here and there. And with the ability to use Ultimate Offering and Cowrie, I do think that there's a quite big possibility that Flu will be a deck that you have to look out for going forward. The next card I want to talk about is Psychic Processor. This is an ultra rare that's coming out in Phantom Nightmare. When you control this card, you're allowed to banish it and special summon up to 2 machine, psychic, or cyberse monsters from your hand, and they can attack directly. And not to mention, during the standby phase of the next turn after it was banished, it returns to your hand. So it's kind of like a Goaty in a sense. It's more like a Ponix, but different rulings. The reason I think this is really good is because emergency teleport is a thing, and this is very much an emergency teleport target. It is a level 3 psychic. I don't think this card's going to be used in any meta-defining decks. However, this card can be used in stun decks that use Inspector Border. But I also think that stuff like MathMech could quite possibly try and find ways to make this work. However, with Circular Band, I don't foresee MathMech becoming relevant. I just think that this card is a very good card and has the possibility to be utilized to a much more usable degree. And the final card I want to talk about that's coming out in Phantom Nightmare that I think no one's really talking about is Emissary from the House of Wax. Now again, as I said before, there are just a lot of good cards coming out in Phantom Nightmare. You have the Yubel support, you have the Snake-Eye support, you have the Goaty support. However, I wanted to highlight cards that maybe not a lot of people are talking about because they're most likely commons. But I do think that Emissary from the House of Wax is a phenomenal card that a lot of people are sleeping on. The effect of this card is when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can special summon this card from your hand. And just like every other illusion monster, when it battles, neither monster in the battle can be destroyed by battle. And at the end of your opponent's battle phase, you can activate this effect where until the beginning of your opponent's next battle phase, all attack position monsters on your opponent's board cannot change their battle position, be used for material for a fusion, synchro, exceeds, or link summon, and also all their effects are negated. So essentially this card is a spellbound mixed with an evenly matched, mixed with a Dark Ruler no more. Not to mention on top of that, it is searchable. It's an illusion monster, which means if you just fuse Gazelle to make Chimera or something, Gazelle immediately, when it hits the graveyard, can search this card out of the deck. I'm not saying, Chimera is going to be a meta-breaking deck once this card comes out, but I'm just saying it is very searchable in that deck, and I think this card has a lot of potential. However, the argument could be said that by the time we get to your opponent's battle phase, they probably have like an Omni Negate on the board, so the moment you activate this card, they just tell you no. But I do think it is something to experiment with and look at because it can't be destroyed by battle, so the moment they start their battle phase, or the moment they declare an attack, you just summon it in defense, and you just have an impenetrable wall as long as they don't have a way to pop it off the board with a card effect. But even so, even if they have already used Baron's effect, but they want to use the pop effect, they have to leave the battle phase, which at that point, the moment they try and leave the battle phase, their whole board just gets hit with a Dark Ruler no more and a Spellbound. which immediately opens the door for the crack pack, essentially. But again, take it with a grain of salt. I think this card has a lot of potential to be incredibly broken and utilized to a very high degree. And that's all I really have today for cards from Phantom Nightmare to really talk about. I want to do more videos like this where we kind of explore the cards coming out in sets that maybe aren't being talked about enough. So let me know what you guys think about this kind of content. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. Leave a comment down below what you're kind of looking forward to in Phantom Nightmare and what deck you're going to be playing in the next format. And if you're not already, leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in next week's video. See ya!